Good morning, everybody. It is a very beautiful Sunday morning here. I'm in the wine country in my home, north of San Francisco, and welcome to the Sacred Sunday Show. I want to welcome our Zoom room friends, Dia and Denise, Pat, Haberl, and others coming in. And I want to welcome anybody watching on Facebook. And most of all, I want to just acknowledge those of you who watch the recording, watch the replay, because I know a lot of the people that end up watching this are watching the recording. Thank you. Good morning, Denise. We're going to have a wonderful guest. It's somebody that I recently met, Reverend Deborah Moldow. She is the director of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle and also the creator of the Garden of Light. And she's a really beautiful soul who's doing a lot of wonderful work in the world. So she's going to be joining us shortly. She's having a little tech moment, but she'll be here quick soon. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to start us off with a meditation. So I want to encourage everybody to step away from your other devices, but stay in a way that you can still continue to listen to my voice. And thank you, Denise. Yeah, I'm feeling good. So, unless you're operating a motor vehicle, I would encourage you to close your eyes and let's just drop in together. And I want to make sure my microphone is close up here. There we go. So let's start just by taking some deep breaths and breathing at your own pace. But consciously breathing, paying attention to your breath. And as we breathe, bring your attention down to the bottom of your feet. When we do that, that allows us to get grounded. So you're consciously breathing, you're aware of your breath, but you're bringing your attention, instead of going up and out of your body, which is what we often do, especially sometimes in meditation, we're actually bringing our energy and our consciousness down to this. Feel the soles of your feet. Put your attention on the soles of your feet on the floor right now while you breathe. Do you notice how when you do that, you actually feel more in your body, more grounded? That's an important tool to remember. And I invite you now to continue breathing consciously, but to pay attention just to your body temple. What's going on inside your body? Are there any little aches or pains, or significant places in your body where there might be some discomfort? So often we get used to the discomfort in our body. So in this moment, we're just going to acknowledge it and love it. Literally sending love to any place in the body where there's discomfort. Feel free to stretch a little bit and move your body if you wish. And we love our body temple. We are so blessed in this human experience. We are spiritual, eternal beings having a human experience. We are God itself, experiencing itself as us in these bodies. And these bodies, these are animal bodies, and they have all sorts of wonderful qualities, and they are also our challenges. So we honor our human body. We honor the body temple. Continuing to breathe consciously. The last question is, how well resourced are you today, right in this moment? Did you get enough rest? How was the quality of your rest? Have you had enough food? Enough water? Are you carrying any kind of a low-grade anxiety or stress or worry? Or are you really relaxed and able to just be present, fully present? There's no right or wrong answer to those questions, just whatever your truth might be. So really tuning in to see how well resourced you are. And being honest with ourselves, acknowledging if we're feeling good, great. And if we're feeling uncomfortable, that's okay. That's part of the human experience. We don't deny it. We send love to any part of ourself that's just needing a little bit of love, a little bit of attention. When we're ready, we can open our eyes and Deborah's here. That's nice. So welcome everybody, and would love to, if anybody wants to put into the chat box their experience, if anybody wants to put in what they experienced, great. Welcome, Reverend Deborah. I need you to unmute yourself, please. There you are. Hi.
Well, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Good.
Uh,
Thank you for that meditation. I know that I needed it this morning.
Is there anything you noticed about your body temple?
Oh my God. Yeah. You know how sometimes you have a day when everything just goes right?
Yes.
This was not one of them. Oh, so I'm very happy to be with you and be able to explore some deep questions this morning.
Is there anything you need? Because all I know is that you hit a little tech. Do you need to get a cup of coffee or make tea? Or is there anything that you need so that you're well resourced? Good. Okay, great. Good. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
I've been really looking forward to getting to know you more fully. And I guess let's just start by learning about the different things you're involved with. And you're involved with a lot. So, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about the Garden of Light? Because we haven't heard about that yet, and I'm eager to hear about what is the Garden of Light and what is your role in relationship to that.
The Garden of Light is where my heart lies. It's a small nonprofit that I started a few years ago after a download. And isn't that always how it happens?
Yes, yes.
I had been conducting interfaith Sundays at a small chapel in Westchester, New York. And I was starting to think about what was the next step for that endeavor. And what began to download for me was much bigger than what I was doing. I started to realize that when I was ordained as an interfaith minister back in 1993, that I didn't really have any beliefs. And that was kind of healthy for me because I could experiment with all different kinds of beliefs and hold them lightly and, not feel that I had to have a doctrine or anything like that. So I was very open, and I was practicing from different traditions. And what I was doing at the Interfaith Sundays was mostly hosting speakers. So we were getting a lot of beautiful, we had a team with a Native American and the only Muslim family in my town. And, it was really magical. But I started to realize that something was going on a global scale that I wanted to know more about. I believe there is a spirituality that is emerging on this planet right now that transcends religious beliefs in a way. I want to be really clear about that. Many people who practice this new spirituality have deep religious beliefs. Many people have none. And they are all participating in something new that's coming forth. And you are such a part of it, Scott. I know you understand this. And I started to think about the beliefs that I now held that, well, my friends also agreed with. For instance, we believe that there is a greater reality to the one that we can easily experience with our everyday senses. And that tapping into that has value. We believe that we can heal ourselves and one another. We believe in forgiveness. We believe, in fact, one of the reasons forgiveness is so important these days is that we believe we're responsible for our lives. So we're giving up victimhood and moving into knowing that if something is bothering us, we need to address it. It's not someone else's doing. They may have triggered it, but we're the only ones that can respond in a way that's going to make a difference. So we also believe that there are wisdom nuggets to be gained from every spiritual and religious and indigenous tradition. And we also believe that none of them has like the recipe, the only way. And I think that particularly this valuing of indigenous spiritual traditions is really important for our world right now. You know, we have lost our knowledge of how to live in harmony with the earth. And if we don't find ways to reorient our entire civilization, the earth is going to rescind her invitation for us to stay.
Beautiful.
So I think that this new spirituality is hugely important. And when I say new, I only mean that it's new in that so many of us are sharing it. So all of the aspects of this new spirituality have been taught by the religions. All of them are part of the ancient wisdom. But something's happening now where we're starting to become citizens of the planet and identify more with being part of a global family of brothers and sisters than we do with our country of origin, our religion of origin, our politics, you know, anything like that. Any kind of label that we can give ourselves is part of the kaleidoscope of who we are. But there is a wholeness emerging in our spirit. And this is across the planet. This is worldwide. And I really believe that this is what's going to save us. And I was thinking the other day about how the Dalai Lama says, my religion is kindness.
Yes. Yes.
Can you imagine if we decided that we were all going to take that on, that our religion was going to be kindness? I mean, the world would need to change quite dramatically.
Well, you know what you're saying? There's a few things I want to riff on. I think it's the maturing of humanity. And from a biological standpoint, one of the things I talk a lot about and is very exciting is that we are moving from reptile brain, reactive survival consciousness into frontal lobe, temporal lobe, thriving, right? You know, we are as a species moving from that place. And if you want to look at it from an astrological point of view, we're going from the Piscean age into the Aquarian age. In the Piscean age, we needed a mediator between humanity and God. whether it's Jesus or Krishna or the Buddha or Muhammad, most of the religions are based on there's humanity, there's God, and there's the church or a temple or a mediator in between. And in the Aquarian age, my understanding is part of our evolution is we no longer are looking to that mediator. We don't need a church. We don't need a pastor. We don't need Jesus. Doesn't mean that they aren't valuable, but we have a direct connection. Is that kind of fitted with some of what you're saying?
It certainly does. Although I would say that in some ways we do need a church because community is so important
Mm.
and community of belief is important and having these deep discussions is important. I lead a spirit salon here in my little town in Mexico every other week so that people can come together and discuss this kind of thing. You do this every Sunday. You
Sure.
don't call it a church, and you are not the pastor of the church, and you are not promoting a dogma, but you're leading us in meditation
Mhm.
and you're sharing wisdom and you're bringing guests who have thought about this deeply. And so there is that experience of community. And that's tremendously important because even though we now think of ourselves as being part of the global community, we
Mhm.
still need one another. You can't connect with, 8 billion people, except maybe in meditation, right? But you can connect with others who have open hearts and open minds and are part of this wave of this emergent wave of a whole different way of being that refuses to default to my tribe is better than your tribe,
Yeah.
which has caused millennia of conflict and violence here on the planet. I mean, I think we all believe that war is never a solution. So uh, there may be times when people are in a really extreme situation and they feel they need to resort to violence. But in the past, war was honor and glory.
Mm.
And in this era, even among politicians and governments, war is a last resort.
Mhm.
And I think that's a huge evolutionary step for humanity.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's a
also
good.
with our own bodies, Scott. You know, you have had many guests on this program and Saturday Night Alive who have taught about how our bodies are part of the natural world, and we are paying attention to the food we eat. We're trying to eat organic, healthy food. When I was growing up, oh my goodness, we ate, I ate cupcakes for breakfast. There, there was no there was no sense
Mm.
of what I'm putting in my body will affect my health even. I mean, maybe too many cupcakes, or might give me cavities or make me fat, but we are in a whole new mindset and a heart set.
Yes.
So the Garden of Light is simply a platform to explore this in
Mhm.
different ways. It's a web platform at gardenoflight.org. And when I started it, I was putting out a question every week. Of course,
Wow.
I couldn't keep that up, especially because of my other work, which we'll talk about later with the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, where I just got so busy I could do it only occasionally. But I also have on the website a forum where I post pieces that are interesting, that are touching on the role of religion and spirituality today. It has a meditation room. It has a prayer room where you can post prayers. Uh, it's yes, thank you.
There it is. It's beautiful. First of all, I love the design. It's really beautifully designed.
Thank
And
you. Thank
so,
you to artist Gloria Owens for helping me build the website.
Is there a particular place where you'd like me to like click through and show people?
Um, I I don't know any place.
All right, well, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens when we go to the prayer room. So we go into the prayer room, and this is where we can post our prayers. I love that. That's
Right.
beautiful. And look at all the prayers that have been posted here.
Well,
Beautiful.
I'd love to see more. You know, the prayer room was inspired by something that I had done when I was working with the World Peace Prayer Society, which is now May Peace Prevail on Earth International. And there was a terrible, well, there was 9/11, and then there was a big tsunami, and, you know, there were awful things happening in the world. And I created a prayer room for people to share their prayers. And after 9/11, we had constructed a special peace pole that a very, very large metal peace pole, like a big sculpture, and it had slots in it for prayers. And we tried to get it to be accepted down at Ground Zero. And so we collected prayers from around the world in this prayer room. You know, there was so much, that tragedy so united us in mutual caring. And there were prayers coming in for years afterwards.
Yeah.
And I realized that people had a yearning for others to hear their prayers, or to know that their prayers were heard, were read, were acknowledged. And that also relates to what we were just talking about before, about having community. Because you can have your own relationship with God or the divine. And in fact, I fully recommend it. But there's also something about sharing our prayers that is powerful. And you know, we have many group meditations, online meditations, like the one you did this morning, and sometimes hosted by Unify for millions of people around the world. And you can feel the energy.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's the purpose of the prayer room, is so that people can share their prayers.
I love that. It's beautiful. And it's so wonderful to see, the different, both the commonality of the prayers and then the unique ones. So this is very, very beautiful.
And anybody who signs up for the Garden of Light can post. And
Wonderful.
you can also post comments to the forum, for instance, or reflections, which are under Engage.
Okay. Oh, wow. Look at all those things. You've got a lot happening here. Look at that.
Well, it was a huge download.
Oh my gosh, it's big. And, remind people, so I would suggest everybody go all the way to the right where it says connect and then click join us. And this is where we learn a little bit. And I'm going to join right now. Um, so here we go. And, I get to create a password. Okay, there we go. All right. And select membership level. Member. Now, what's the difference between member and newsletter only?
I think newsletter only, maybe you don't get to post.
Aha.
And I do get a lot of spam memberships on that, so I may end up taking that off.
Great. Oh, I need to
Because some people are shy about their spirituality. In the olden days, we didn't talk that much about it. And so when you join, you create a name.
Yeah.
So you don't have to call yourself Scott. You could call yourself Angel Voice or something. If you want to be incognito when you respond.
Right. Well, I've just registered, so thank you. I'm excited about that. Oh, this is very cute. History, member for, and it says 1 second.
You're going to be at the top of that list for a while, but I hope some other people will.
Yeah, so definitely join. By the way, one of our regulars, Dia, who's a sweetheart, writes that having you on the show is helping her to feel, to not miss Barbara Marx Hubbard as much as she has. So you're bringing some of that Barbara Marx Hubbard
Well, wait
love.
till we start to talk about the evolutionary leaders, because let me just tell you that Barbara Marx Hubbard is alive and well in the work of the evolutionary leaders, and so many people around the world. It's like her vision is beginning to manifest now in ways that couldn't happen when she was alive. And that's how it is with this spirituality that the Garden of Light is pointing to. It couldn't have happened earlier. Maybe it even couldn't have happened without the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a divine tool that we've been given just at the time when we need it.
You know, I'm going to get cosmic with you for a moment, and then we're going to talk about evolutionary leaders. But
Mhm.
when a great leader, like say Yogananda or Jesus, um, leaves the human body, then they go into the timeless place. I call it the astral plane. Some people can call it heaven. And but because it's timeless, that's where they can connect with an infinite number of people, right? When we're in our human body, we have limitations, right? You can only shake one hand at a time. But when the great souls, the great leaders are in a higher state, and I'll use Yogananda as an example because I really believe I've had personal connections with him, and I believe that he's doing that all the time, probably with thousands, maybe even millions of people all around the world, because he's in that timeless place where whatever aspect, that bodhisattva part of him, can connect. And so I'm imagining someone again like Barbara Marx Hubbard, who is a bodhisattva, right? You know, now she can support each and every one of us in a more cosmic way, but in a more expansive way.
I just have been spending time with Dr. J.J. Hurtak and Dr. Desiree Hurtak.
Sure, we've had them on the shows.
I
Yeah.
know they just had their conference in Mexico, and they came for a couple of days to visit here in San Miguel de Allende, and I hosted a talk with them. One of the things that Dr. Hurtak said that I heard recently, and maybe I heard it in a different, a new way, was that when you see a manifestation of a divine being, or you hear one, or you see an orb, or your camera takes a picture of one, they are manifesting in ways where they are projecting their beingness toward us. And that's why they can do what you just said, because they're not actually physically, if you see a vision of, the Virgin Mary, it's not because she has come to you, but she has beamed to you. And that's why they're able to reach so many people. And
You know, I want to.
answer our prayers.
I think that's absolutely true. And kind of riffing on that, and then we will get to evolutionary
Oh,
leaders.
we'll get there.
Um, you know, I'll share with you a really cool story. So the great love of my life was my wife, Suchi, who passed away almost 10 years ago. We're very close to the 10-year mark of when she passed. And one of the things that she and I shared was we were very involved with giving oneness blessings, also known as Diksha. We were very involved in that movement. We were actually the first people to bring it to the Bay Area. We were the first ones to bring it to Hawaii. We went to India and spent several weeks with Bhagavan Kalki and had a private audience. It was a big part of our world. About 6 months after she died, I stopped giving Diksha because it was something we did together, so I just kind of stopped doing it. But I was in Las Vegas, actually, not doing the Las Vegas thing, but teaching a compassionate communication workshop. And my sponsor, my promoter there, had previously brought my wife and I to do oneness blessings. So I was teaching an all-day compassionate communication workshop. But at the end, he said, would you like to give oneness blessings, Diksha, to all the participants? And I said, well, okay. And it was the first time I'd done this since she had died. And as I got ready and kind of tuned in, I felt her so strongly, just incredibly felt her. And I was like, okay, honey, well, let's do this together. And I could literally feel her energy behind me. Well, as fate would have it, someone snapped a photo of me. She'd actually been taking pictures all day of my workshop, snapped a photo as I was doing this. And this is the picture. And are you able to see that enormous blue orb all around?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Huge.
Isn't that something? And what's cool is she had taken about 30 photos that day, and the only picture that had an orb was when I was getting ready to give Diksha, and I could feel Suchi all around me.
How beautiful.
Suchi is my wife's name. So, um, the great ones, the great spiritual teachers connect with us, but also some of our beloveds. Sometimes our
Well,
beloveds become guardian angels.
this is true. And also, it's important to know that we can evoke that kind of energy. You talked about Barbara Marx Hubbard as being a bodhisattva, but I don't want anybody to be discouraged from thinking that they can do things with their own intention and they're shining their own light. And for instance, um, Diksha is a kind of an energy that comes through your hands.
Right.
And I've discovered over the years a lot of healing energy comes through my hands. And I think we all have that ability. And I want to prove it to anybody who's watching now. So I'm going to invite you, Scott, to join me in putting your hands up and sending healing. So let's just see. Oh, yes. If anyone who's listening feels that energy coming right to them. And anyone who's watching, put your hands up too. And you can receive and send. And in this holy moment, we surrender to the energy that is moving through us, knowing that we are not the ones who are doing this. We are the vehicles, the instruments of God's peace and healing and love and joy. Thank you.
It's kind of hard to come out of that state back into.
And do we really need to?
You do, because I still need to ask you about the Evolutionary Leaders Circle.
No.
So, but that was beautiful. I definitely felt it. And here is evolutionaryleaders.net. And look at all these beautiful souls, all these beautiful beings that are part of this community that you are actively the director of. Tell us about this.
The Evolutionary Leaders was begun by the Source of Synergy Foundation, its mother organization that was founded by Diane Williams. And Diane had this idea to bring people together in synergy. I had met Diane as I had met the Hertaks and many other beautiful souls through my work at the United Nations when I was representing the prayer, may peace prevail on earth. And so our first couple of meetings were with people who had NGOs affiliated with the United Nations. And we got together at a small hotel where Deepak Chopra had some space, and he offered Diane the space for these meetings, and they were beautiful. And then we thought, well, so many people who are leaders in the consciousness movement live in California. So we need to have a West Coast version of this. And what if we got together some of the real leaders of the movement and asked Deepak to invite his friends, and we would have it at his center in Carlsbad, California. And the consensus at that meeting, and that was only about 35 people, but a lot of them were really well known, like Marx, Hubbard, and Jean Houston, and Bruce Lipton, and Reverend, and many others. And so someone said, well, why don't we get together every year? And that was how the group really started to form as the Evolutionary Leaders. It's a name that they've never been really comfortable with because they don't want to call themselves leaders. And, that's one of the hallmarks of the new spirituality, is that, as you were saying before, it's not in the one-to-many model anymore. It's in the many-to-many, where everyone's light can shine and we can all teach each other and learn from one another. And that's another hallmark of the new spirituality. But these people were leaders because they were, many of them, like Deepak, well-known authors whose teachings people looked up to. And we decided that the way that the circle could expand would be to have people within the circle nominate who they'd like to bring in the next year. And now we have close to 200 members of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, many bright lights, all visionaries, some of them well-known and others doing extraordinary work behind the scenes. Or there could be people who are artists and musicians, like our beloved Kristen Hoffman, who's been on many of your programs. And because the arts are another way that our spirit expands and brings us joy and connection to the divine. So the Evolutionary Leaders Circle has been growing, and last year we didn't bring in any new members. It was during COVID and everything was different. We normally have an in-person retreat each year, and we had to cancel the plan and have it online. And so we kind of took an in-breath last year. And next year is going to be the out-breath from that. And we are bringing in a large number of new evolutionary leaders. And plus, we're doing all kinds of different outreach now. So, for instance, you've had so many evolutionary leaders as guests on Saturday Night Alive. And then a couple of weeks ago, we did a program together where we actually identified them as evolutionary leaders. And that's a first for us. We've been kind of behind the scenes. Well, maybe not a first, because we have also participated widely in Global Oneness Day that Humanities team produces, and activities with Unity Earth, and other online programs. But we're still very rarely identified as, oh, this person and that person part of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle. So I think that's going to be more visible this year. And another thing that we really want to do, and I hope that your listeners will really hear this, is we want to open to the evolutionary community. Because we know that there are so many people leading this evolution all over the world. It's certainly not limited to 200 people who happen to be members of our circle. I mean, there's a lot of wisdom and vision there, but there's so much happening right now. This is a moment of, Jean Houston would say, renascimento. It's a renaissance. It's a spiritual renaissance. And so we're going to start with a partnership circle, an evolutionary partnership circle next year, which will give us a better sense of all these other organizations we're working with. There are so many organizations within the Evolutionary Leaders Circle. And then there's so many outside of it who are doing work that is in alignment, that is trying to transform the consciousness on this planet now before we hit the iceberg.
Right.
And this is urgent, important work. This is not a pastime. So not only do we want to be able to really make visible the alignment that we have with many partner organizations, but the next step after that will be opening to the evolutionary community. And what I mean by that is all the people on the edge of this evolution will be able to sign on and be part of us in a, we're not sure how yet or how that's going to work. One way people can join us now is to go to the website at evolutionaryleaders.net and sign the call to conscious evolution. So at that meeting, that historic meeting out in California at the Chopra Center, Bruce Lipton stood up near the end of the meeting and he said, when the founding fathers had a vision together, they drafted a declaration. He said, we need a declaration. We need to say what we're doing, what we're about. And so as a collective, the evolutionary leaders at that time drafted a call to conscious evolution. Yeah. So we've always been, conscious evolution has been the hallmark, the keynote of what we're doing. The idea that comes much of it comes from Barbara Marx Hubbard's work, where she would tell us that we are the first species ever that had any choice in its evolution. Mm-hmm. But we only have that choice if we take that opportunity and we decide we're going to evolve like toward kindness, and not just sort of let things roll along, which takes millions of years. We don't have that kind of time. Yeah. So the call to conscious evolution is on our website. It's had close to 50,000.
I'm just going to the website. So I just want to show people where they do that. So as you're saying this, people go to evolutionaryleaders.net. Go to evolutionaryleaders.net. Yeah. And then right here on the front page,
right next to our book.
What's that?
Right next to our book.
Right next to the book. Join us, click here to sign the call. And there it is. And 48,704 people have done that. That's
and when amazing. You sign the call, one of the things that's beautiful about the way this is set up is that you get to say what you're doing to advance the evolution. And maybe you can click on that, click on the people who have answered the call. Maybe that will take you there.
Okay, well, I'm actually filling it in real quick. I've already done.
Oh, you're answering it. Okay, you go ahead and do that.
Oh, it's asking for traffic lights.
Oh no, we have to do that because we do get a lot of spam. So forgive us for asking you to recognize traffic lights.
Okay, and I'm not a robot. Okay, so now I'm answering the call. What can we do to accelerate the shift in consciousness field is required? Okay, well, we can all find our own inner evolutionary leader. There we go. I'm subscribing. I'm not a robot. I'm answering the call. There we go. Drum roll, please. And here we go. And this takes us to your book. Now, it's funny. It took me actually right back.
Here on the bottom, you can start to see some of the people who have answered. Maybe you can find a nice response there. Wait, where are you?
It keeps actually. To be
no,
honest,
no, you're on the front.
Yeah, it keeps bringing me back to that.
All right, go back to the.
Oh wow, there we are.
Oh, I think we're on a sine wave.
Yeah, we are. We are on a sine wave. That's cool. I did ask them to do
John Raymer.
That's great. Wonderful. Well, the point being that it's
The
important.
point is that so many people are making so many contributions right now to the new consciousness. And at one of our early retreats, I had been saying to Diane all along, I'm on the list here, but I'm not an evolutionary leader. I'm a worker bee behind the scenes. And Diane, whose consciousness is a little ahead of mine, she kept saying, no, you're just as much of an evolutionary leader as anybody in this room. You have to get that. Oh, it's like, okay, I don't get it, but it's nice that you said that. And then I was sitting in one of the meetings, and I got a vision. And the vision was an ocean wave washing up on the shore. Vast, a huge beach, as far as the eye could see. And I realized that the wave was the evolution.
Wow.
And every drop that was at the edge of that wave coming up on the shore was leading that evolution. So you didn't have to be a leader with followers to be leading the evolution. If you are transforming yourself, and I think that's one of the real principles of this evolution, is that as we transform ourselves, we're transforming our world.
Right.
If you're working on that, if you're transforming yourself, if you're bringing a consciousness of love and forgiveness to everything that you do, if your life is in service to others, if you have found your purpose on any scale, like Saturday Night Live was about last night, then you are part of this evolution. And thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. And that is, you kind of read my mind, because I wanted to connect with you about how people can, instead, again, not looking outside, because it is really, you have an amazing group of people that are evolutionary leaders, and they're all inspiring. And obviously a big part of my life right now is getting as many of them out to the world as I can. But it is ultimately about acknowledging that everyone has a role to play. I should go to gallery view here. We all have a role to play. And I say this all the time, but clearly we have to evolve. Humanity has to evolve very quickly. And so the old paradigm, like a caterpillar, is dying, and the new paradigm, like a butterfly, is emerging. And what I love about that analogy is that as the caterpillar dies, there's all these imaginal cells inside the dying caterpillar that find each other. They come together and they create the butterfly. And so I believe that
in complete chaos inside the cocoon.
Yes.
Seriously, it turned the original body of the caterpillar, according to Elizabeth Saturis, one of our evolution biologists, turns to soup. There is nothing like, it's not that the caterpillar grows wings.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important for us to understand right now, because there is a level of chaos in the world today that is profoundly disturbing, but it may be what we need for transformational change.
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone listening, everyone who's attracted to your work, to our work, you are one of those imaginal cells. Now, some people are evolutionary leaders, some people are more public, some people are more famous, but every single person drawn to this work, feeling the call, are all an important cell, right?
And that's it, Scott. That's really the key, is answering the call. And that's why we called it the call to conscious evolution. But you have personal call that it may change in different times of your life. Even, like one morning, you may have a different call. But if you're listening, you're going to hear that guidance. And that is a huge component of the new spirituality. The idea that everyone has a call. In the old religion, it was, God loves you. Well, yes, but what is your responsibility? And, for instance, in Judaism, your responsibility was to obey the laws. So that was a new way of bringing people together in mutual respect, was to have these laws and to have the feeling that the laws came from the highest place, that they were divinely originated. And then Jesus came along and said, well, wait a minute, let's talk about another law that needs to be added to the law, and that's love. Mm-hmm. And to love our neighbor as ourselves, that's a hard commandment, because every day we take care of ourselves. Do we take care of our neighbor every day? It's big. It's a big one. And in older times, when there was our group and then there's the other group, you weren't praying for the other group. In the new spirituality, you are. The more you perceive someone as your enemy or your other, the more you want to pray for them, because you want them to evolve too and open their heart. And then Islam considers itself to be the religion of justice. So that was the progression of the monotheistic religions, and those were your obligations. Well, in the emerging global spirituality, which also extends to all the beautiful Oriental religions and the native traditions and tribal ways, you are the divine in action. You are the divine in body. You are the hands and feet of God, but so is everybody else.
Exactly.
Yeah. Everybody else, even the ones who have chosen to play roles that we look at as horrific. And if we see that all as part of the divine plan, that there is a greater purpose. Dr. Jude Curvin, who's one of our evolutionary leaders, just brilliant, wonderful soul, is coming out with a new book called Gaia, Her Story, like instead of his story. And it's all about how the universe, from what she calls the big breath, was programmed toward the emergence of life on planet Earth here. And we don't know what it was programmed toward in other realms, but we're confident there are other realms. But here on the planet, there were so many times, the other 5 extinctions, we talk about maybe we're in the middle of the 6th grade extinctions. Well, imagine there were 5 before this where life was wiped off the planet. It appeared that way. But no, life came back. How did that happen in circumstances that didn't seem to support life anymore? And yet there is a force, there is an intelligence,
yes,
that is manifesting through our very lives. We're privileged to be alive on planet Earth at this time, in spite of the chaos.
One of the things that we frequently say on our shows is that we are the ones we've been waiting for. This is the time we've been preparing for. And one of the things that has been simultaneously fascinating and disturbing is that, as you know, in Saturday Night Live, we bring in environmentalists sometimes, and we bring in indigenous elders, and we bring in Bruce Lipton's and the scientists, and a lot of different realms, all relating to consciousness. And there is this consistent, no matter whether it's coming from an indigenous elder or whether it's coming from a scientist, that this is it. Humanity has reached, we're beyond the tipping point. We've reached this place where everything is going to radically change in our lifetime. The planet is radically changing. The melting of the North Pole, the Antarctic Everything's melting faster than all those scientific projections. The Gulf Stream is changing. Um, Everything's rapidly changing. And so it's really scary. Like you said, it's the chaos going on as that caterpillar is dying and just becomes this soup where there is no obvious sense of form that is recognizable, but a new form comes together and emerges as the butterfly. But while we're in that chaos, it's really scary. It's really, really scary. And we all have a role to play. We all have a role to play. What do
It's
you,
true.
what are your recommendations for people of if they're in the chaos, like their world is falling apart, their marriage is falling apart, or their job is ending, or whatever it is, what are your suggestions for how to make your way through that chaos to drop into your your divinity, to drop into your divine, call it destiny or the divine role to play?
In my personal life, it's been about what I call following the breadcrumbs. It feels to me like the guidance is always there if I'm open to it. So the trick, of course, is to open to it. And I can say what everyone else says about meditation and prayer and going out into nature and those kinds of things that nourish our inner life. But I don't want people to be discouraged if they don't have those things in their life.
Mm.
Like they're not following the right formula, you know, because everyone is different. But everyone has that guidance available. And whether you're capable of getting still in meditation, or you need to ask for help when you're going to fall asleep at night, or you want to talk to your friends in a deep way about things that matter, you know, all of these things are ways to open. Here's what our problem is. I think we have one problem, but it's a sticky one. And that is that our minds are so developed in our current world. We are living in our mental space more than in our bodies and more than in our spirit. And we need to come into balance. So as you were saying in the meditation, did you take care of your body today? Did you get enough rest? Did you feed it nicely? You know, that's important. But our minds are, you know, the ultimate monkey minds now, where when we have a pause in our work, we go on Facebook and we scroll, you know, on Facebook or on Instagram or something, or we pick up the phone, or we turn on some music, or you're always needing that constant stimulation because we live in a world where our minds are going a mile a minute. So you can't hear if you're speaking. So whatever works for you to be able to listen for your guidance, that's what you need to do. And then the signs will appear. You know, when you're on the right track, I'm sure you've all noticed that things happen. Doors open. Somebody calls you out of the blue and says, you know, are you interested in this? And you're like, wow, I was thinking about that yesterday. So the signs, the synchronicities, they'll show up. And if you're not getting any and you're just, you know, in that place where I was this morning, where your mind is just taking you to all kinds of places where you don't want to go, then you need to look for inspiration. Then you need to get online and listen to someone like Scott, or, you know, it's Sunday morning. See if Michael Beckwith is preaching. He'll lift you up in a
Absolutely, he sure will.
You know, and it's really important to have those things to go to. So make sure you look up the inspiring people on YouTube. You know, you may want to kind of I used to relax with British Mysteries on PBS. But now I can't really watch them anymore because, they're all about murder. And I want to watch things that are going to inspire me. Don't go to the movies that have 20-minute car chase crash things in them. Go to the ones that are gonna touch your heart and lift your spirit, because we need you to be happy. We need you to be actually joyful is a better word. The rabbi, the beautiful soul, Rabbi Joseph Gelberman, who founded the new seminary where I was ordained, he used to say, if you want to know whether somebody, a spiritual leader, is legitimate or not, does his or her presence give you joy? He said, I am always joyful. He said, I'm not always happy, but I will not let anyone take away my joy. So let's find those things that lift us up, those musicians that inspire us, those speakers, those communities, those books. And then we're better equipped to navigate the chaos, because the chaos is here and the changes that are coming ahead are likely to be painful in many ways across the planet. I think you're right, Scott. I think we have crossed the tipping point. The governments were alerted to the situation with the impending climate changes back at least from 1972. So we've had 50 years. We've had 50 years to change our sources of energy and look toward a more harmonious future with nature, and nothing has happened. So, we send our leaders to Glasgow and we hope that they come up with some solutions, but there's nothing right now to really give us encouragement that these drastic changes in the climate are not going to happen. They're coming. Yeah. The ice is melting. Yeah. And we are tasked with being those imaginal selves. And we can't do it if we're depleted. So we're here to lift each other up. My hope for the Evolutionary Leaders Circle is that they're like a one-stop shopping for people. Like our Facebook page, and you will see what Lynn McTaggart's intention experiment is this week. Or you'll see, the award that Greg Braden got from Humanities Team. You'll see, you'll see these wonderful uplifting things so that your feed is positive. And that, I love that what they put on Facebook is called a feed. You get to choose how you want to feed yourself. Give yourself the good stuff.
I'm actually going to go to, I didn't know there was an Evolutionary Leaders page on Facebook. So looking for it right now. I think I just found it. Here, got it. So here we go. Let's take a look at what's happening there. Wow, we're happening there.
Here we are.
Great. Yeah, there's all sorts of wonderful things. And this is where you can see yesterday the Global Institute for Extraordinary Women. So just...
and that's Bruce. Every cell in your body is a battery.
Beautiful.
That was Bruce. That's Bruce Lipton. Always
love Bruce.
Science.
Love Bruce. So then there's Greg Braden.
Greg.
Oh gosh, this is a great page. This is a wonderful
treasure trove.
It is. It's a treasure trove. I would love for us to close. A lot of people, Charlotte, Olga, Dia, all said that they really felt the energy.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that it would be nice to end our session, because you've shared wisdom. Would you be willing for us to just drop in one more time in feeling the energy coming through your hands and the connection? Is that something we can do one more time?
We definitely can do that. But before we do that, I also want to recommend that you try it on one another. If your friend has a headache, say to her, I want to try an experiment on you. Would you be open to some energy healing and see what happens?
Absolutely.
We
Absolutely.
all have powers of the spirit when we are open to being that vessel for spirit to move through us. We can do things that we don't know yet.
Yeah.
So let's be the pioneers. Let's be the explorers of the spirit who really look for ways to be, to shine a light of good in the world and grow our garden of light together.
Beautiful. So I want to riff on what she said before we go into this, just for one moment, which is let's be very intentional about the music we listen to, about the inspirational leaders we choose to listen to. Because what she's saying is really true. Just like when you eat junk food, you feel dense and dull. When we take into our system tragic headlines or stuff that brings our energy, notice what do you do that brings your energy down? What can you do that brings your energy up? And we now need to do everything we can to lift our energy, to lift ourselves and be inspired. So go to the Evolutionary Leaders Facebook page or the evolutionaryleader.net website. Go to Saturday Night Live. Go to our YouTube channel where all of our shows, all the Sacred Sundays are there, all of the Straight Talks are there. By the way, we're changing the name of Straight Talk to Awakening World next year. It's going to be called Awakening World.
I like it.
Um, so there's so many places and 1,000 other places where we can get inspiration. Reverend Michael, absolutely. Go to Agape. Reverend Michael's going to be on the show again, Saturday Night Live on December 18th, by the way. Um, so there's so many places to go to be inspired. Um, and I want to recognize, thank you so much, Suzanne, Maggie, Charlotte. Beautiful comments coming in from you and people really
Olga,
feeling the
Ellen,
energies. Yes, so you're seeing that too. Good, 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 good. So, all right, let's
well,
do
and Dia Teresa. So thank you all for being with us this morning. We feel your presence and we love having you with us.
one more time.
Okay, before we put our hands up, let's do just a little meditation.
Okay.
We take a few deep breaths and bring in that good chi energy and feel the energy coming through your feet. If you can have them on the floor, feel the earth energy coming up through your feet. If they're not on the floor, imagine that they are. Bring that beautiful energy from our mother planet up into our bodies. We're made out of her. We're her children. Bodies are made of the earth and our spirit is divine. So we breathe up from the earth all the way to our heart center. And as we feel that energy coursing through our bodies, the oxygen coming into our bloodstream and going to every single cell. And then quickly we imagine our crown chakra. The energy is coming all the way up that high, and we open that crown chakra, and the energy from above starts to fill us with divine light. And we receive the father energy and the mother energy, and they meet in the alchemy of the heart center. And we feel ourselves starting to radiate light. It's filling our body, it's filling our aura, it's filling our being. It's illuminating our magnificence. And when we feel that, all we want to do is share it with others. So now let us open our eyes and look at our screens and bring up our hands and feel that energy, that light, that power coursing through us and shining out. We are peace poles, and our breath becomes a prayer. May peace prevail on earth. And we are radiating that thought form with all of our being. And we're activating 200, maybe 300,000 peace poles all over the world with this prayer. May peace prevail on earth. And we see our planet, our beautiful, beautiful home. And we send this energy of peace and love and healing to our planet Earth, our Mother Gaia, and all of the living community of that planet. The earth is alive. The water is alive. The plants, the animals, even the minerals are vibrating at the atomic level. And the people of planet Earth, all of those expressions of the divine in their busy lives, in their vast variety, no two alike, not even twins. Every one an expression of the unfolding isness of the divine, the unpronounceable name of God, expressing through all of this beauty. And can you feel your hands vibrating?
Yes, totally.
So join me and let's close this meditation by saying together 3 times, may peace prevail on earth. Say it out loud wherever you are. Whisper.
May peace prevail on earth.
May peace prevail on earth. May peace prevail on earth. Thank you. Thank you, Scott, for the beautiful mission that you have in this lifetime. Every one of you has a mission, and maybe lots of them. Blessings.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Deborah, for being with us. Thank you, everybody. And remember, we can make any moment, any day sacred by choosing to see the divinity in all, including ourselves. So let's practice that this week. And it's wonderful to see all of you. I'm loving all the comments coming in. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone in the chat. I see that somebody put in the chat, shalom. And I want to tell you one last thing about JJ and Desiree Hertak. So they chant the names of God and the divine names in different languages, particularly source languages like Hebrew, and they do Greek and Aramaic and sometimes indigenous languages. Sanskrit is an amazing source language, some of the Oriental languages. So they started their conference this year with one chant that I'm taking it. I'm doing it from now on, and that is Shalom. I have a big frog in my throat today, but you get it. Shalom. So you take the om sound, but you make it peace. Shalom.
Nice.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom, everyone. Have a beautiful, beautiful Sunday. And for those of you watching the recording, I hope that you also still were able to just drop it and feel the incredible energy field. We're all a part of this global awakening. Thank you, Reverend Deb. Love you so much. You are just such a jewel, such a gem.
Thank you,
Good day, everybody. See you all next weekend. Bye-bye, everybody.